can only fit one at a time. So I have to take a lot more trips back to Target. Daddy! Daddy! Show my breath! Oh, Jesus Christ, Daddy, why'd you breath like shit? Don't tell anyone, Daddy, but I got a chocolate factory in my pantry and just keep producing chocolate. Yummy. You've been eating your own poop, Daddy? Yeah. Oh my God, get this breakfast teeth, Daddy. Well, I would brush my teeth, Daddy, but I don't have any toothpaste. You have toothpaste in the bathroom. Well, I took that toothpaste and I squeezed it all in the toilet.
Jeremiah, where's the brush?
Under the sink, downstairs. Downstairs under the sink. The bathroom.
Why you got it up here? What's the matter with you?
Because I used it downstairs last.
You crazy?
Go out.
Go grab your St. Gates and come on out the room.
Now we're all out of toothpaste. Darn.
Get.
We need to go to Target.
Please don't.
Come on, boy.
Out.
No, Jeffy, no toys. We're only here for toothpaste.
Come on.
Shut my door.
Let's go.
Shut my door bag.
Let's go.
Yep. I see you lifting your shirt up. You're trying to rub your wiener on it?
I just tell you.
Between me and you,
come on.
It feels pretty good. But anyway, yeah, these things are really popular.
Come inside.
We just can't keep them on the shelf.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
You took it from me. I ain't never got to go through.
Yeah.
I thought I seen it in your closet. Boy, come on.
Yeah. Oh. See, he like going underneath my bed. That's the thing. Hold up. He right here. Drop. Drop.
Stop. Stop. Let's go. Let's go. Get here. I ain't gonna keep playing with you. You think it's a game. You think it's a game. You think. Come on. Come on. Come on. Because you're going to turn your head up. Do it again. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Where you going now? 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 Where you going now?
Oh, have mercy. Why he gotta keep going in my bed?
You got stuff under there.
There ain't nothing under there but my shoe. Get out. Now. Get out. No, it's not Chico. Get. He keep. I'm recording right now, but in a minute. Get. Hold up. Don't give him money now.
Don't give him money.
No. Get. Let's drop it. Drop. Drop it. Drop it.
Okay, go. You better get off that blanket. Go ahead, Fred. Lay down. Hey, boy, I ain't finna play with you. Get out. Get out. Let's go. Get. Watch out, Fred. Let's go. Get out. You want to play. You going right in that cage. As soon as I get you. You can fish. You think I'm playing with you. Let's go. You better stop. You better stop. You better stop. You better stop. You barking. I'm punch you. Barking you. Barking. 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 Get over here. Get over here. Barking. 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 Kid, get from under there. Get from under there. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Let's go.
Just pour the bed out of here.
Let's go. Put it down. Give me that sheet. Let's go. You gonna listen. Who's scared? No, go. Who's you trying to bite? 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 Let's go. Big guy. Get from under there. I'm about to yoke you up. I don't want to yoke you. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Because I ain't even going to keep playing with you. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Stop.
First off, let me talk my got a couple things I gotta cross off my
No. He's struggling. I'm back. The pain that we just had to go through to get that name from underneath my bed. I got 2 games to play, then I'm gonna play with you. Pause. Real quick, I'm about to do something. If this dude joins the party, mute your mic for a little bit. I'll just like as soon as you see that he joined, just mute your mic. Yeah. So if he joins the party, just mute your mic. I doubt he gonna join anytime soon, but.
It's week 10 of the 2022 season, and all eyes are on Jared Goff.
You said what?
Your top dog in the league this season, ranking first in passing
Yeah.
yards. It's the Steelers and the Saints next on Madden Football.
The shadow's starting to get a bit longer. Week 10 of the NFL season is here, and we're underway on EA Sports. Fielded just outside the goal line. And he won't get this to the 20-yard line as he's down at the 19. And here come the Saints for their opening drive. They're led out by the 9th-year starter out of Fresno State, Derek Carr.
And it certainly hadn't taken Herbert long to earn his status as one of the league's best and most entertaining passers. Locked and loaded at every snap. And the second he sees an opening, that ball is soaring downfield. You better be on your toes against him on defense. The second you turn your head, he'll burn you.
Carr right away, gonna look to throw. Catch here, left side, Thomas. And he stopped right at the 25 after a gain of 5. Here's a 2nd and 5 now from the 25. Here's Carr. And the Steeler pressure too much here.
Don't you want to hear something funny?
They overloaded that time with a safety.
Me and this girl got into an argument, right? She said she was done, so she done blocked me. Not even 2 days later, she unblocked me talking about some come over. Cause she's like, come, she just, cause at random, cause you know Instagram tells you who unblocked you and who blocked you. So she blocked me. So okay, that's how it is. So 2 days later, it said that she unblocked me. She said, yo. I said, what you need? Cause if somebody unblocks you for no reason, they need something. So I just said, what you need? She said, no yo, no hey, or no what's up, baby, or nothing. I said, no, you blocked me. She said, just come over. I said, how you gonna block me and then tell me to come over? Nope. Oh God, you put me in a block list and not even a day later you're gonna tell me to come over. You really think I'm gonna start doing that? You really think I'm gonna do this?
In 2016, Jared Goff.
And if you go by the numbers, he's had a Pro Bowl type season. And maybe that's even selling him a little bit short. He's the NFL leader in touchdown passes to this point in the year. And with the end of the season not too far away, he's got his guys playing at a very high level.
Oh, he's going to take a shot right away. And it is second and 1, the catch is made. A big play that time for Pittsburgh. 54 yards. When you think of guys that are built to be big-arm quarterbacks, Jared Goff, he fits that mold, and he showed it off right there.
And that's how you start a drive, because you know they had this play in their back pocket, waiting for the right time to unleash it. And boy, did they pick the right opportunity. Unleashed it big time, and that was all.
You ever notice next-gen stats be so wrong?
Looking at a first and goal situation.
Because it said Jared Goff threw the ball. He did, so it said he had 54 passing. This was the first pass of the game. It said he had 54 passing yards. Next gen stats said he threw the ball 68 yards.
And did he get the feet down? No.
What kind of fish? What the fuck? I don't know, I was just repeating what that nigga said on that video.
They're taking a peek at whether or not those feet were in bounds, and obviously a big call here in the end zone.
And not just the feet.
Hopefully
Getting down in bounds. That's what they're trying to look at.
A real game win. Okay, so do you remember how crazy the 2022 NFL season truly was? We had some of the most insane games we've ever seen, a great Super Bowl, and so many minute details that I'm sure you forgot along this journey. So with that out of the way, let's get right into recapping the ridiculous 2022-2023 NFL season. September 8th, 2022, the NFL season opener where we got the Rams versus the Bills, and to be completely honest, this game was pretty underwhelming. You know, for the first game of the year, you would expect fireworks from one of the most talented teams in the entire league and the reigning Super Bowl champion, but what we got instead was a trail of carnage left by the robot that was Josh Allen in last year's season. Now, yes, although I know we didn't know it at the time, but we all should have seen this game as foreshadowing for the rest of the Rams' disaster of a season. So after the lackluster season opener that was Rams vs. Bills, we also got games on Sunday like the 49ers versus the Chicago Bears, where the 49ers lost in probably the upset of the year. And I guess the main takeaway from this game was that Kyle Shanahan wanted Trey Lance dead and gone by the amount of QB draws he was running. And, you know, I guess he was right. In week one, the Bengals took on the Steelers. And to be honest, I completely forgot this game happened. But when looking back on it, I still firmly believe that this was the game of the year. And not that we're not going to get contenders for that title later on in the video, but just let me remind you what happened during this ridiculous battle. In the first half of this game, Joe Burrow committed 4 turnovers, all the while TJ Watt was looking like a spiked wrecking ball who could not be contained against what looked to be another paper-mache Bengals O-line. Now, under normal circumstances, this game would have already been beyond over. But, God, if you can remember, for some incomprehensible reason, Mitchell Trubisky used to be allowed to put a jersey on, so the Steelers weren't doing anything at all on offense in the meantime. After some time, the Bengals went straight down the field and almost got a game-winning touchdown to Jamar Chase, who snagged in a pass with one hand, but is just barely out of bounds. So they gotta do it again. But for Joe Burrow, a man who doesn't even feel pressure, this was no problem, as he immediately found Jamar Chase for this time a real game-winning touchdown. But there's more. On the PAT, the 3-point after, the Bengals decide to, I guess, make things a little bit more entertaining and not even decide to chip Minkah Fitzpatrick, who casually swats the ball out of the air to force overtime. Would you believe me if I said this was just the beginning of the chaos? After a brilliantly executed 3-and-out by Mitchell Trubisky, the Bengals get the ball back, and Joe Burrow gets the Bengals into field goal range. And after a 29-yard field goal is attempted, a high snap happens, and the kick is missed. And then the Steelers get the ball back, and obviously Mitchell Trubisky can't complete anything short of a 3-yard slant, so he just calls up a straight-up loafer, and Deontay Johnson enters the matrix to haul in this pass with one hand, which sets up a Chris Boswell field goal from 55 yards out, and he hits the crossbar. You cannot make this stuff up. So then the Bengals get the ball back, and then they blow their opportunity by having a just weird-ass fumble sequence. So then the Steelers get the ball back, and with 5 seconds left in overtime, this time Chris Boswell delivers the finishing blow, and the Steelers
take down the Bengals in week 1. Just wow. Around the NFL, we also had the Titans lose a week 1 contest with the Giants off of a Fat Randy missed field goal, and the Chiefs just completely decapitated the Cardinals, showing that they had not missed a beat from last season. And then on Monday, we got the Seahawks versus the Broncos. Russell Wilson's highly anticipated return to Seattle, and, you know, it actually shockingly didn't go very well. It turns out Russell Wilson is a complete and utter trash dump, and Nathaniel Hackett can't coach for his life. Geno Smith thoroughly outplayed the entire Broncos team all game long, and the game ended with a disaster clock management sequence, and the Broncos almost giving Peyton Manning 6 different heart attacks. Then in week 2, we got the Ravens versus the Dolphins. One of the most high-powered offensive games that we've seen in a long, long time, where Tua and the Miami Dolphins came back from their biggest deficit in franchise history to beat Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Tua was absolutely perfect in this game, throwing for almost 500 yards and 6 touchdowns as the Ravens, I guess, choked. But this choke wouldn't even come close to the Titanic choke we'll see in just a minute. Meanwhile, Trey Lance's leg snapped after the Shanahan bloodline ability to break quarterbacks is just too strong, and now we get into the master classes of this choke. In week 2, we got the Browns versus the Jets. A game where the Browns had a 13-point lead with just a minute and a half remaining. All they had to do to win the game was stop Joe Flacco from scoring 14 points in that time period. So you'd think that they would just buckle down and close the game out, but no, in a matter of mere seconds, the Browns blow a coverage on a 4 verticals play, then lose a onside kick, and all of a sudden we have a serious game. I can't believe it. Then Joe Flacco goes right down the field with ease and finds Garrett Wilson for a game-winning touchdown. And then when the Browns had a chance to come back and get a game-winning field goal of their own, nope, Jacoby Brissett throws an interception. The Browns lose, and nobody is surprised. So this was just a historic collapse by the Browns that was then just pushed to the side a few hours later. The Raiders took on the Arizona Cardinals in Allegiant Stadium. And at one point, the Raiders held a 20-0 lead at halftime. But you know how it was with the Raiders this season. And then, poof, just like that, the Raiders find themselves in a real dogfight once more. And this game just produced some of the most unreal highlights I've ever seen in my entire life. Kyler Murray was just pulling off magical play one after the other and somehow got the Cardinals into overtime. The Raiders had a full fork in their mouth and were choking like no one had ever seen before to this point, but at one point, they actually made a stop and got the ball back in overtime and had a chance to right their wrongs. So, Derek Carr then passed it to Hunter Renfrow, who fumbled, but hey, he got it back, so everything was okay. And then immediately, Derek Carr missed a wide-open Devontae Adams for a pass that would have basically ended the game with a chip shot field goal. And then we got the stamp of approval on this choke job, where Hunter Renfrow fumbles again, but this time he loses it, and Troy Murphy returns it for a walk-off game-winning touchdown. In week 3, we got the Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills, a game that early on looked like it was going to be a heavyweight classic between two teams that were going to be competing for possibly the AFC Championship game. And, you know, the Dolphins ended up winning a war of attrition where the Bills made very uncharacteristic mistakes at the end of both the first half and the second half to hand deliver the Dolphins the win. We also got a class act sequence where Bills offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey showed his appreciation for the Dolphins and rearranged the tables on the desk. Besides that one game, not much really happened this week. The Colts ended up beating the Chiefs, which is insane in hindsight. The Eagles began to show that they were a walking buzzsaw this week as well, and the Broncos beat the 49ers, also a very strong contender for the upset of the year. To start week 4, it couldn't have started off on a worse note as Tua had a pretty awful concussion, which basically summed up how fun Thursday Night Football was all season long. We started off our football morning by watching the Vikings take on the Saints in London, where it was a very close game throughout, with Justin Jefferson just tearing up Marshawn Lattimore all morning long. But the game ended with a double-doink miss by the Saints to give the Vikings one of their first cardiac wins of the season. That Saints ending was definitely the craziest of the day, but we did have some fantastic collapses by the Ravens, who let the Bills come back off of a failed fourth down conversion and a horrible sequence where they didn't let the Bills score a touchdown. Then the Patriots and Packers played one of the weirder games of the season as Bailey Zappi came in for an injured Brian Hoyer and Mac Jones and almost beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And then we ended off the night by seeing Patrick Mahomes continue his reign of terror as the Chiefs proved they were the best team in the league by beating a once-believed-to-be-strong Tampa Bay opponent. To begin Week 5, we got the Broncos versus the Colts on Thursday Night Football, and yes, I know everyone hated this game, but for me personally, this is the most entertaining, boring disaster you could ever watch with your own two eyes, and I loved every second. After the game dragged on for as long as is humanly possible, the Colts got a field goal to take their first lead of the game. Then, the Broncos basically got one singular play that let them go down to the goal line, and on fourth down, their final chance, Russell Wilson missed a wide open receiver, and the game ended. And basically, the season ended for Denver on this very night. But once more, this wasn't a very impactful and memorable week, as we had a lot of playoff teams like the Bills and 49ers get dominating wins that separated themselves from the pack, and then we ended our week off on a Monday night game where the Raiders lost to the Chiefs with a Raiders sequence to end the game, and Devontae Adams almost got his first charge as a Raider. Then we moved into Week 6, where, God, the Ravens fans had it rough this year. In a game that was pretty much neck and neck throughout the entire contest, Lamar Jackson threw a late interception to give the Giants new life, and then with another chance to come back, Lamar Jackson then fumbled, committing 2 turnovers on back-to-back drives to end the game. It was also around this time when we were beginning to realize that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a far cry from the team they were 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, as they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, and we had all given up hope after that happened. Other games we saw around the league this time were the Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. The most hyped-up game of the entire year, probably, because the last time these two teams faced off was...
I hate in Madden when one person does something, 2 people's X factor decides to light up.
Expected this series to go. The ball only went one way, and it was backward into their own end zone, courtesy of the pick six.
And Brandon, how often do we hear offenses tell us before a game they want to end every series with a kick, right? A punt, a PAT, or a field goal. In case of a defense, they want to end with a punt or a takeaway. And we saw the takeaway right there, and it turned out to be a takeaway that turned into 6 points.
And a nice return sets them up pretty good here right at the 30-yard line. 1st and 10 here. You know, if they could just get 3 out of this, there's something about narrowing it to a 2-score game at half that makes it feel like much less of an obstacle. They're throwing to start the drive, but that one incomplete. Ball on the 30 as they come up 2nd and 10. Now it's gone. He's going to drop this underneath to Ingram, and he'll be brought down right around the 37. Now the Steelers use the first of their 3 timeouts as they'll stop it with 27 seconds remaining here in the 2nd quarter. Oh, going for Jefferson downfield. And he bats it away. Falls down incomplete.
They gave it a shot in the deep pass, but it wasn't going to work there. And now there's less time for them to try and get 3 before the half. Let's see what they dial up on this next snap.
On fourth down, punt coming from Braden Mann. And a fake here, direct snap to the up man. And he will not make it. They stop him short of the first down. A little trickeration there, but it doesn't fool this defense. And the Saints are going to get it back and in great shape. Trying to shake off the interception, he'll look to throw. Well, it's a shuffle pass, and it's complete. And he'll be brought down, losing yardage back at the 40. Now, despite the completion, they're going to wind up losing 3 there. Second down, and we're going to get a timeout with 2 seconds remaining in the second quarter. And I don't think this has the carry. It does not. It's no good, and the lead will stay put at 17. So we have reached halftime with the visiting Saints out on top as we send you down to Orlando where Jonathan Coachman has our EA Sports. Halftime over, no problem with us. We skip right to the third quarter and continue this midseason contest. Welcome back. Charles and I settled into the booth ready for quarter number 3.
Marcus Mariota instantly threw an interception, which led to the Panthers getting a chip shot 33-yard field goal attempt. But Eddie Pinheiro is a fucking trash can, and he missed another field goal. So the Falcons got the ball back once more, and this time the plan was to just scream at Marcus Mariota and tell him all he has to do is not turn the ball over, and they win. So, he did just that, and of course, young Hoku from 41 yards out is a money every time, and the Falcons got a crucial win to drop themselves in the draft. So we move right into week 9, where the Falcons climb right back into the ring and got into another close game. The Chargers played against the Falcons, and late in the game with the score tied 17-all, Justin Herbert was just torching the Birds until Austin Eckler got the ball, and on a routine run, he fumbled, and the Falcons recovered the ball, and then with Atlanta going down the sidelines, without contact, he fumbled too, and the Chargers got the ball back. So with 24 yards lost, it doesn't matter for the Chargers, because Justin Herbert is just on a whole nother stratosphere. And he picked up those yardage and more in just one throw, and Dicker the Kicker's legacy begins with a game winner. If anything, I think a good old Tiger Woods here summed up this game perfectly. But besides that game, once again, not much happened this week either. But teams like the Eagles, the Bengals, and the Chiefs all handled their business pretty much like the usual. So we move into week 10, where we got the Thursday night rematch between the Panthers and the Falcons, which was an absolute disappointment. And then we moved on into Sunday, where at this point Justin Fields was beginning to look like a real star, as they did end up losing to the Lions, but the man was basically proving himself to be a giant Lamar Jackson, which is not a slight at him because Lamar Jackson is pretty damn good. And then we get into my least favorite game of the entire year, where my Las Vegas Raiders lost to the Colts, giving Jeff Saturday his only win as an NFL coach, which is still just insane to me that he ever got this job in the first place. But that pain was, I guess, eased by the fact that we got possibly the best game of the entire year when the Vikings took on the Buffalo Bills. The game was looking like the Bills were just going to close them out at home early, but the Vikings ended up battling back after a fantastic comeback that was only kept alive after this ridiculous Justin Jefferson catch on fourth down that I'm sure you've already seen about 73 times at this point. It was ridiculous, but remember that this drive actually didn't lead to anything at all because the Vikings went down to the 1-yard line and ended up getting stopped on fourth down, resulting in the Bills taking over the ball. But no, the script was just not in the Bills' favor on this very day, and they fumbled the snap, resulting in a Vikings touchdown. We then got a great sequence where both sides fought hard, and the Vikings ended up getting just a field goal on their possession in overtime. So Josh Allen had a chance to lead his team down the field, and the Bills went straight down and threw an interception. And in hindsight, we should have seen how the Bills season ended going. We also got some great headlines, like the Cowboys taking on the Packers, where Mike McCarthy still gave the Packers one more gift as he went for it on 4th and 4 instead of kicking a 53-yard field goal and lost the game because of that horrible decision. And to end off this brilliant week, the Eagles, who at this point were completely undefeated, finally lost to Taylor Heineke and the Washington Commanders. To start Week 11, we got Patriots versus Jets, and although I can't say this is the weirdest or the most boring game of the year, but it's got to at least be somewhere in the middle of those two words. If you hate yourself, then just watch this game all the way through again. I can't possibly think of a worse way to spend your time. Seriously, after a whopping 6 points were scored through the first 59 minutes and 34 seconds of this National Football game, the Jets punted it off to Marcus Jones, who returned the punt all the way to the house for a game-winning touchdown. But that game was kind of an allegory for what happened this entire week, because it was another very boring week. I guess the Eagles almost lost to the Colts and Jets Saturday, but no, that right's only reserved for one team, and I guess overall that's sort of it from this week. To start Week 12, at this point it should be said that we're getting into the end game of the season. All of the Thanksgiving games were pretty underwhelming, and then during the actual week, we got the Broncos versus the Panthers, another great contender for the worst game of the entire season, as Denver got ran through the meat grinder by the Carolina Panthers. Then we got the Jets versus the Bears, where Mike White came back to dethrone Zach Wilson, and his reign of terror only began in a win versus the Bears. And once more, we're all just forgetting how much of a choker the Ravens were this season, as in a game versus the Jaguars, at one point they held a late lead, and the Ravens even got a fumble on Trevor Lawrence, but although they didn't get the ball back, on a 3rd and 21, the Jaguars needed to go down the field and score a touchdown, and of course, this is just too easy for Trevor Lawrence. The Jaguars went straight down the field with a Zay Jones completion that was huge, and then scored a touchdown to Marvin Jones, and instead of being boring and settling for overtime, the meat lord Doug Peterson goes for 2, and Zay Jones impales whatever soul was left for the Baltimore Ravens, and the Jaguars walk away with a win. But that wasn't even it, because although the Ravens didn't get into field goal range for a mere mortal, but they did get into Justin Mother-ing Tucker range. And the choir connoisseur came out to attempt an NFL record 67-yard field goal and just barely missed it. Man, once again, it was tough to be a Ravens fan this year. Also, other headlines around this week, where we got a super cool Josh Jacobs run to beat the Seattle Seahawks in overtime, and Jalen Hurts reminded everybody that he was still really good at football. Week 13 started off with the Jets versus the Vikings, where at this point for Minnesota, they still weren't considered entirely frauds, and in this game, Mike White was about to steal Christmas. He was so close to ending the Vikings on a last-second drive, but he ended up throwing an interception, and the Vikings escaped with their lives once more. This was also the week where Deshaun Watson came back for Cleveland and played against his former team in the Texans, and I guess the spirit of the Houston masseuses haunted him all game long, and he looked horrible in a Browns loss. I still can't believe he's allowed to play in the NFL. Meanwhile, the best possible thing happened for the 49ers as Jimmy Garoppolo got sliced in half and Brock Purdy came in and rallied the 49ers to beat the Dolphins, all the while Tua was looking like an absolute garbage disposal versus the 49ers defense. We also got a gorgeous AFC Championship preview between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals, where for pretty much the entire game, the Bengals were able to take control of the tempo and put constant pressure on Patrick Mahomes, which resulted in the Bengals beating the Chiefs while looking like the better team throughout. Week 14 had Thursday Night Football start off with the two traveling circuses in the LA Rams, a team not only plagued by injuries, but more consumed by them, and the Las Vegas Raiders, a team who, after being handed the worst script they possibly could have been given, started to actually get things back on track. You remember, right? The Rams signed Baker Mayfield from your local Target without knowing the actual playbook, and meanwhile, Vegas screwed up everything they possibly could have, shutting all power down on offense. Meanwhile, on the last drive of the game for the Rams, they screwed up everything they possibly could have as well by having Jerry Tillery get a horrible penalty, which allowed Baker Mayfield to later throw a laser to Van Jefferson for a game-winning touchdown. So yeah, I guess overall this week wasn't super intense, but more just kind of fun. As if you can remember, the Lions and the Vikings had a Western shootout, which ended in Jared Goff and the Lions as the last man standing. Then we had the Cowboys play against the Houston Texans, where the Cowboys were pushed beyond the edge and had to pull off a 98-yard drive to beat, once again, the Houston Texans. And even crazier, stay with me here, but Russell Wilson actually played a good 2 quarters of football and almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs off of the back of a brilliant Jerry Jeudy performance. This was also the week where Kyler Murray tore his ACL, capping off what was arguably the most disappointing season by a franchise this year. So now that Kyler Murray had died for our sins, he in turn gave us, I guess, one of the most entertaining and probably the best week of the entire season. Saturday morning, the Vikings took on the Colts, and at one point the Colts held a 33-0 lead. And then it happened. Just let me read the game script to you here.
Yeah.
Osborne, 3-yard touchdown. Colts field goal. CJ Ham, 1-yard touchdown. Justin Jefferson, 8-yard touchdown. Adam Thielen, 1-yard touchdown. Dalvin Cook, 64-yard touchdown to tie the game at 36-36. And all of this happened in just 21 minutes of game time. So, Kirk Cousins, on his second chance in overtime, got into field goal range, and they converted on a 40-yard field goal attempt to win the division and complete the largest comeback in NFL history. But hey, the action didn't stop there, as Jalen Hurts put Justin Fields in his place, showing him he wasn't on his level just quite yet. Then Zach Wilson came back against the worst defense in the NFL in the Lions and played like garbage, solidifying his place on the 2023 Seattle Sea Dragons roster. And my God, it just keeps going from there, too, because then we got Davis Mills and the Texans almost beating the Chiefs, Mike Williams and the Chargers stealing a win away from Tennessee, with Dicker the kicker as the execution.
Austin elects to bring this out of the end zone, and he had no room to run as he's tackled down inside the 20. So Jared Goff for the offense. 13 to play. After the incomplete pass here now.
Yeah, they're saying that he's wrong. That was a good one. He's trying. He earned it there. He earned it. Snap count there. Almost got you, 55. 180. Complete. Terrible. That's awesome. I'm just trying to get him to drop.
And he's got it. So the try for two successful.
Yeah, they're big back and forth.
Back within a field goal.
That was a good one. He's trying. He earned it there. He earned his snap count there.
50 off! 50 off! Turbo, touch! Touch! Almost touching 55. 180! Complete! Complete! Turbo, touch!
That's awesome. Just trying to get him to snap.
I know we brought analytics into the game, and
Yeah, they're hitting that. That was a good one. He's trying. He earned it there. He earned his snap count there.
50 off! 50 off! Turbo, touch! Touch! Almost touching 55. 180! Touch! Touch! Complete! Complete! Turbo, touch!
That's awesome. I'm just trying to get him to drop. Yeah, they're hitting back this ball.
When you see a group score this many points, it's a complete
That was a good one. He's trying. He earned it there. He earned his snap count there.
50 off! 50 off!
Because when you have that much scoring, and it still comes down to one possession game at the end, that's not something we see very often. In this case,
180! Touch! Touch! Complete! Complete! Turbo, touch!
That's awesome. I'm just trying to get him to drop.